Good evening. Good evening. Welcome people to another. What is it? Another Sports Unplugged, isn't it? I'm getting nervous here because I've got Conrad and I've got Chris with me today. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, but we've got Connor who's away on holiday. He's in Greece. He's enjoying himself. He showed me a few pictures tonight. He's well on it. He's well on it. But I've got Chris from LFC Women's Football, who's heading the new show on LFC Daytrippers. Also Quizmaster, although there were some questionable questions that you were asking of us on Tuesday. And Conroy, welcome Conroy. How are we? And then we'll go to Chris.
Oh, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on the show. Pleasure to be here. I actually tuned into that quiz the other night as well, and I'd say there's maybe a few. I mean, Chris, if you talk about harsh or just pure stubbornness, when was it Avi got, what was it you got? Was it 78 and you got 177 and you still didn't give him it?
And even the Ian St. John one as well, got 116 goals.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the one.
I said to you exact. You had to be exact.
Yeah. I know, but I didn't realise it was eggheads, mate. Come on, honestly, that was unbelievable. But yeah, pleasure to be here, mate, and looking forward to the show. Lots to discuss.
I think it's our first show together, Conroy. I think it is our first show. Yeah. So it's it's a pleasure to have you. And Chris, my partner from Fridays from last season. Who knows, if you do really well, Chris, you might become you might replace Connor if he's gallivanting.
Oh, I could be Mr. Friday Night again. I was going to say I did quite well. Got my own name this Friday night and you binned me off.
No. We would never bin you off. But
Chris, too big for your boots, Chris. I had to put you down. I had to put you back down.
Listen, kudos to Chris. Chris, if you want to touch upon your new show, because I know, it is a relative new show. It's the LFC Women's. It's following their journey this season, isn't it? And with their setup and stuff.
Yeah, and Gav gave me the opportunity to do it, which was really, really appreciated. So we're going to do like a monthly show where I'll get other people on who follow women's games. So I've got a couple from the Anfield Wrap and I got Emma Sanders from the BBC. And we're just going to preview what's happened the previous month, what's going to happen going into the future, talk around the women's game, how, as Neil Axon rightly points out, the women's game is still elite sport. It's not always treated that way, not always chosen that way. And basically, it's my passion because I've been going Liverpool women's games now for 5 years. So I've already got one interview in the can with Kerry Holland, which got released 2 weeks ago. And we have a new one coming out tomorrow at midday. I've managed to have an interview with Naby Keita, the current Liverpool women's captain. So it's really, really interesting chat. We went sort of through the win against Watford, the game coming up, and then we had a bit of a chat about her career because she started at Arsenal in 2008 and just her career from Arsenal to Chelsea to Bordeaux and now Liverpool. I mean, she's living most Liverpool fans' dream, being a Liverpool fan and then being made captain of the club you love. It's great, so she's great. But I mean, she's a brilliant player as well. Liverpool are very lucky in the sense that the 5 years I followed them, they've always had a brilliant captain. They had Gemma Bonner, who won them who was part of the team, won 2 titles. When she left, they got Sophie Brad, who was a very selfless person, actually put a career on hold for a year during COVID to carry on working in the nursing home at Jones. And then Naby Keita has took over from there. So, she's a very strong character, very good player. So I urge everyone, it's coming out midday tomorrow, give it a watch. It's really interesting insight on what it's like being a woman's footballer as well. But I'm hoping to get another show out probably end of September. Just trying to line a few guests up.
Brilliant. And Conroy, you've got your own channel as well. I know we can plug this at the end, but just wondering if you want to plug it now as well, and then we'll get into the show right away.
No, we can plug that at the end. That's fine. Happy to go in. I just wanted to add to the women's football thing, Chris, just because we're on the topic, and it never really comes up. And I actually probably should do a video on that as well. It's just to echo your thoughts, but also I was watching Soccer Aid the other day. Don't know if you've caught it. Julie Fleeting was in the Rest of the World in a Scottish international. Now she's probably, I think she's been retired for about maybe 10 years now, but it's so quite. The timing's quite unfair. When she was playing for Arsenal, she was racking up ridiculous numbers, number 9 scoring all the time. And we're still on a trajectory of women's football where we want to get it to a higher, maybe promotion-wise. But now with social media, you can see that it's rising, and I actually just feel kind of sorry for her, because if you actually go back and look at the numbers and the highlights of her as a player, it's just quite bad timing, because she absolutely used to smash it at Arsenal, and Arsenal used to win everything in that women's team. So just thought I'd give Julie Fleeting a little plug there. She was outstanding.
Kelly Smith was the same. She was. You would probably say she's like the Wayne Rooney of women's football. If you want to sort of express it, she was like.
Was it Faye White was Arsenal's captain? I've got that right. Am I getting mixed up? Faye White was Arsenal's captain, because Julie Fleeting was up front, and they won so much. Like, they dominated English women's league. So yeah, it's just I just thought I'd give that a shout, because I thought she was incredible, and seeing her on Soccer Aid the other night, just the memories came back. So yeah, that was my only comment, Abby.
Top stuff. And again, Chris has got a show tomorrow, pre-recorded. Give it a watch, please, and retweets and stuff, especially required, because we do want to get it out there, and I think it's one of a kind as well. I don't think there's many women podcast channels out there that other Liverpool podcasts are doing, so it's great, and gives us an opportunity to listen and see what's happening as well. We so concentrate on the men's football, we have a women's team as well, and we should concentrate and see what their progress, because I know they did have early success, then it went a bit sour, but now they've made a few signings over the summer, and hopefully they're on their way again. But guys, on to the weekend's football. We'll touch upon the four main fixtures, one of them obviously being Liverpool versus Leeds, which is on Sunday. Conroy, how are we feeling? Confident? No major injuries. I think Minamino, which I don't think he would have started anyway, but it does seem as though we might defy it and go with Alisson and Fabinho. How are you? What do you make of this Brazilian stuff?
I've heard a few contradicting reports today in itself, Avi. I've heard a few different ones. I'm not actually sure what is going to happen tomorrow. I've heard, I don't know if you have heard any different, but the last I checked, I think, just before 6:30 the last time I had a look at it, and one of the reports said that it looks like all the Premier League teams are going to defy the Brazilian federation and go for it and play them. And if that's the case, it'll obviously be Alisson and goal. Firmino's injured, and it'll be Fabinho. I'm going to just assume that might not happen, Avi, on the team I think it'll play, and I think it would be hopefully Kelleher. And I'm not going to have a go at Adrian. I just hope it's Kelleher. And then I think the changes would possibly be, we're looking at Thiago, Henderson and Elliott midfield, and then the front three would be, you've not got much of a choice then, so it's going to be Jota, Mane and Salah. So that's what if they don't get to play, which I think might happen. But I don't know, do you guys think they will defy them and play Alisson, or it's such a strange situation?
I think Pep let it slip, didn't he? Because they said at first they don't know what's going on, and apparently a bit later I saw a tweet where he'd said, we don't know what's going on, but it looks likely they're playing. But if you don't know what's going on, how do you know they're likely playing? It says to me, I think all the clubs got together and said, we'll all defy it because you can't ban all of us. And I think they'll just do it because the 5-day rule, I get it. It's probably to stop the Fergie thing that used to happen in the past where people would have a niggle, but they'd be all right a bit later. I think that's what it's there for. But I mean, in fairness, you're saying we're not sending lads to a country where it's a red on the red list, and if they have to go there, they have to quarantine for 10 days. So I said it's not quite doing a swivel really. If it was an amber country and we'd still done that, then fair enough. But I mean, the Brazil game didn't even happen because of the health scare. So it feels a bit snide to ban them for a game that didn't even happen in the end.
Snide, and Kev says a great point. It's disgraceful that there's no decision that has been made. I know they're adamant, Brazilian FA, that no, they cannot play, but there's been no clarity or transparency from the Premier League either. And it'll be interesting to see tomorrow. Is there any Brazilians tomorrow in the Saturday fixtures?
Edison and Jesus. If Edison can't play, Scott Carson's making his debut for City.
So if City hold back on Edison, then I don't see anyone playing their Brazilians on the Sunday. But if they go ahead and do it, then you would imagine it's a collective thing that everyone's going in. So yeah, no, I can see that. But Chris, how are you feeling? Liverpool Leeds, Bielsa ball, Ellen Road, full crowd. They'll be definitely taking a risk and a chance, won't they? And they'll probably fancy their chance against Liverpool in a full, packed crowd at Ellen Road. And they need a win as well. I don't think they've won the first three, so.
No, they've got a draw so far.
They've got two draws. Burnley, Everton, and they got absolutely scalped by United because they played right into their hands. But we'll not get into that.
That's what I mean. We don't know which way they're going to play. If they play like they did against United,
no, they won't do it. They won't do that. They won't do that.
You wouldn't have thought to do it to us. I think their home record against the Big Six was pretty decent last year.
Yeah, you said that, Chris. You said
back
towards the
in
end
the
of the
6
season.
months,
Yeah. You said they really improved defensively. So that's why we were both shocked when Bielsa just decided to rip the rule book up and look like he had not no clue, but most naive I've ever seen him.
Yeah,
we were both shocked at that.
Yeah, that was the frustration with it. But no, I still think Liverpool can go there and win. It'd be easier if you have Alisson and Fabinho play. But if you don't, I still think there are options there. I don't think Elliott's going to start there. I've got a sneaky feeling Chamberlain's going to get thrown in. He's had 2 weeks training. Same with Thiago had 2 weeks training as well. Not playing no international football. It would make sense to play 2 very fresh lads in midfield and then one of Henderson or Fabinho. Or if you can play both, then you play Henderson, Fabinho, and one of the other. But that's what I would think will happen.
If Fabinho's out then tomorrow, what's the 3 that you're going with, Conroy?
Well, if Fabinho's out, the reason I probably agree, Chris, in normal function, I wouldn't play Elliott, but because I'm looking at what we're kind of the choice we've got and Elliott's played the last 2, I'm just kind of going with the numbers game with that, the percentages that I think there's a good chance he'll start him. I was torn between Thiago or Keita, so I'm still kind of torn between that. So I think it'd be Henderson, Elliott, and either one of Thiago and Keita. I don't know what the week Keita's had, if he would still play him tomorrow. So that's why I kind of went with Thiago. But as I say, that's like, I'm not sitting on a fence, but that could go either way, guys, to be perfectly honest. But as I say, it might be Fabinho comes back in because we defy it. Because, say, for example, Liverpool don't and then Leeds play Raphinha. It's like, I'm not saying Liverpool are going to fear Leeds because of that, but that would just be, I think you're right, it's going to be either one or the other. It's like some teams are not going to do it. They'll all either do it together or not do it together. Hopefully, anyway, because if they all do kind of different ways, that's just going to make the issue even more complicated. So that's my midfield 3.
Yeah, mine would be Henderson, Thiago, and I think he might go Chamberlain. Just give us a bit of an option of a shot from distance, but it would allow us to play Henderson and Thiago as a 2 and let Chamberlain roam a bit. I've got a feeling with Origi is just Origi, so he's not going to get used, and Taki is endlessly not used, even when he's fit.
He's injured, Chris. No, Chris is injured. Please, he's injured right now.
He's injured, but even when he's fit, he's not picked. He's been fit for 3 games and no one's picked him. So
should have come on against Chelsea. But let's just be nice to Taki. No Taki agenda here, please.
It's not a Taki agenda. He scored 1 goal against Crystal Palace, and and some people think he's a worldie. Do you know what I mean?
In my eyes, he is a worldie. He should be starting every Liverpool game. But anyway, the lesson about that.
Some players suit some systems. That's all I would say. There's loads of players like Minamino who, if he was playing in a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 behind the striker, I think a team like that would suit him tremendously. But I just don't think a 4-3-3 suits him.
When we get the full midfield quota, but I can see Elliott being used as the bench option for the front 3 until we get Bobby back.
Good shout.
Absolutely, because his meme was coming in from the right-hand side, but people keep telling me he can't play in the right wing. That's not true. He can. You don't have to be rapid to be a winger. You just have to be intelligent.
You just got to be clever. And we saw that for the Burnley game. He pulled out wide. I know it was midfield, but he pulled out wide as a clever ball. There are different ways to do it.
See, I'm going to go with I think Fabinho, and I think the Brazilians will start. I think it will be what I'd like to see is probably Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson. Henderson didn't get game time against Poland, did he?
I don't think you see that midfield until AC Milan.
Is that ever happened yet? Am I correct in that Thiago Fabinho have not played yet?
Everton at Goodison Park.
So is that started yet, Fabinho and Thiago? Is that the only one that started?
That's the only time it started, yeah.
I heard that stat. It was like either... Oh, sorry, they never finished the game or whatever, never completed the 90 minutes or whatever it was. Yeah.
I think we might see that, but if they're not, then if Fabinho and Alisson don't start, then it is a bit of a tricky one. I mean, Naby seems as if he's come back unscathed, which was another... It could only happen to him, couldn't it, Chris? Naby, like typical, like you pray that he doesn't get injured, and everything's fine. He's played his friendly, assisted as well for one of the goals, and then all of a sudden their prime minister, president, is under house arrest, no flights out, and he's left in a hotel, like awaiting a flight back home. So, what do you make of this situation? And prisoner of war, they've called it, but yeah.
I mean, look, it's not a laughing matter. It's a horrible thing for him to go through in it, and I don't think he'll start because look. he must be shaken up by it. But there was that little bit of dark humour that kind of went, it would be Naby Keita. It's just his look at the moment. If it's not a fitness thing, something else crops up for him. But yeah, it's been a bit of a mad international break. Federation's trying to ban players, Federation changing their mind and banning players, military coups. We've got another 2 of these to come here for the years.
Van Dijk's little scare as well.
Scotland winning a game, a big game. Crazy. Absolutely mental international break. That never happens. Unbelievable.
But Leeds, I want to come on to Leeds quickly because I want to talk about Raphinha, Conroy, a player that seemingly today again seems to be rumoured, that he was a target at Rennes and then obviously went to Leeds and then we didn't pull the plug. What do you make of him? Do you think he can come in next season? Maybe is he a potential target? Do you see him fitting in our system?
I do, mate. But I'm also quite critical of him because that performance at Old Trafford was up there with one of the worst I've seen. It was an absolute disaster class, not getting enough coverage because Man United, obviously, understandably, won 6-2. But I've told Chris this, obviously we're interested in him. So as yourself, when you watch a team that you're maybe looking at a player, you focus on that player. He was horrendous. I cannot emphasise that it worries me when someone can be that bad in a game. He tried about 10 long-range passes, absolutely nowhere. For Greenwood's goal to make it 2-1 to United, he actually gives the ball away.
Yeah.
Trying a Tom Brady pass out of nowhere, which is never on in a million years. So that worries me because people with intelligence don't fall into that trap when they just keep it simple. I do, however, think he's very, very good, but I've got to be honest. I've been watching him more after that because to me, yeah, maybe you guys think I'm being too critical. I just thought he was horrible, different levels. We criticise Minamino or Ortiz for having this guy was awful in that game, and I just wanted to. I don't remember I'm being too harsh, and I do really like him as a player, Avi, and I do think he can fit in the system because I think he can play in midfield, and also a bit like Elliot, he can play out wide. However, apologies, lads, got a runny nose there. I feel like. Yeah, he is a top player, but that was a game that really annoyed me because if you want to play for Liverpool, especially standard we're at right now, you can't afford to have a game like that, for me anyway.
He runs that risk, and you're not the first one to notice that he does try to play those through balls from some impossible angles sometimes. And for me, that's something that he needs to cut out of his game. I think if he came in, and if it is 50 million that we've got to pay, I think he'd be brilliant, Conroy. I think at 24 years old, he's on that sort of level of just maybe a little bit more consistency, a few more numbers in terms of assists and goals, but he's on that cusp that he can go on to that very next level.
I was very impressed last season, mate. Honestly, guys, I'm not putting him down. I'm only saying that about him because I really, really rate him, and I was just so shocked how bad it was. But as I say, listen, I think he's very, very good. I completely agree. And last season, I remember, I don't know if you remember the game, it was against Everton away, and I just thought he scored the winner in that game, long-range strike. I just thought this guy just looks... He's everywhere, obviously, because of Bielsa's style, so his pressing's very suited to us. And he is an intelligent player. And maybe that's the shock of that United game is because he was so good with his decision-making. And I feel like he'll be great. And if we can get him for 50 million, no-brainer for me. If it gets to maybe the 70, 80 million, maybe that's when. But I don't think it'll get to that. And I think 50 million, a great signing. And also, he's got that versatility. We said previously, can play in midfield, can play out in the wing. And as I say, he's intelligent. We talk about wingers. He's not rapid. He can come inside, a bit like we mentioned with Elliot. For me, he's the one I would want if we could get him.
Yeah. Chris, Raphinha, for you?
I don't see us paying 50 million. We had talk all the summer that we'd get certain players, and we haven't. And I'm a little bit with the transfers. I'll believe it when I see it. If he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, I've seen people shout St. Maximin, and I think the thing with St. Maximin is he'd be very Louis Garcia, as in he'll drive you mad, but then he'll do something magic. And so we haven't got.
We've not got enough players like that. We've not got enough players like that.
A proper maverick. He'll just do things off the cuff. If it comes off, it looks brilliant. We've got players who frustrate us because they're not consistent in front of goal, but. Probably goes. I quite like us to have a maverick. We haven't had a maverick for ages, but I might sound different if we sign him.
I do like him. I just think logistically, I maybe disagree in the sense. I think Raphinha is the one financially that there's quite a good sell on there because even if you want to sell on him, you can take the chance and take him in. I feel like other teams would look at him. But maybe we're in a strange position right now with where Madrid and Barca are, because we maybe need to stop thinking like that. But that's just how teams think. Look at the risk, the gamble. But sorry, Chris, just this ad. It was about. I do like Saint Max. I think he's very, very good. I just think for us system, Raphinha would probably suit more. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that is that. I mean, but maybe sometimes, I quite like a bit of a wild card for a bit of a different system.
Wild card, that's a good. If the comments know the wild card for me doing the quiz the draft last week, I got about 3 wild cards.
Right at the end. But just on this one, AS has put a comment in his special, got that 1v1 ability that Mane has lost ball. And I want to touch upon Mane and then we'll get into the predictions. Sadio Mane, Chris, for me, I said it earlier on last season that I thought if we had an offer for 40-50 million, I would have sold him. People are now sort of coming to the idea, maybe he's not the Mane of old. What do you make of it? He's coming on to 30 next season, but do you think we should have cashed in this summer? Were there any realistic buyers for him, first of all? I don't think there was. But do you feel that we just got to give him time until he recaptures his form, or you're not worried at all with Sadio?
I think you've got to give him time a little bit. He may never get back. Look, he may never get back to what people consider the Mane of old. But if he gets back to 70 or 80% of the Mane of old, that's a bloody good player. So, I mean, there's a little bit of revisionism, I think, going on with Sadio Mane because everyone was talking about how well his pre-season went. He looked lively. He looked more lively than Salah. He did all right against Burnley. He did all right against Norwich. Got his goal against Burnley. Probably should have had more. And everyone's going, oh, yeah, the signs, Mane's looking back to normal. He was crap against Chelsea. But to be honest, so was Robertson. The whole left-hand side of the Liverpool team was crap, which is probably why they didn't bring Minamino on, because he had to take Robertson off because his legs were gone after coming back from an injury. And he had to take one of Henson or Fabinho off because they haven't played enough football. So, everything's great in hindsight. But I do think there is a little bit of, because people probably didn't spot Bobby dropping off as he has in the last 18 months. So I think everyone now wants to jump on the bandwagon and say, we spotted Mane first. I spotted Mane first. And I'm a bit like, is he been as good as he was 2 years ago? Probably not. But he's still effective. The problem with Mane is, it's an aesthetics thing, I think, is he looks what I call like a scruffy player. So when he does his miscontrol where you think he's lost the ball, but he actually does that to knock it past the player. It's quite a clever trick he does. But when he doesn't come off, he just looks like he's never kicked a football in his life. Whereas someone like, say, a Salah or Firmino, they look a bit more.
I disagree. Pleasing. I think Salah's like that a bit, to be honest. I wouldn't say Salah's aesthetically amazing. Fair enough to you. I just think, but I get what you're saying. But I think football's about effectiveness. It's really not about like.
But I do think people get hung up on if it looks a bit more silky, and then people are more into it. So yeah. I think you got to. I'll judge. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'll judge Mane at Christmas. Let's see where he is at Christmas. And then you'll know by Christmas if he is where he needs to be or wherever he's going, I would think.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. And you just think, because he's going to be, he's 29 now, and I just think maybe this summer we could have replaced him. But I think Kev said as well, like, if you get rid of him for 40, 50, who's buying him, first of all? And then you're looking at a 60, 70 million replacement. But I would ideally next summer be happy with Mane going off to maybe like a PSG maybe, or Spain or Germany even, and then we get in a Raphinha. I know it's not a direct replacement because they play sort of different, but I think I would love to see that. I'd love to see that kind of deal happen where we pay 60 and maybe Mane does go for 40, and then obviously then you got all the net spenders who want to.
But we're talking about getting rid of a guy who got 16 goals in all competitions last year, but we're all happy to keep the number 9 who, as good as he is, doesn't score.
But I think, Chris, the problem with Bobby is I don't think there's actually legitimately, I don't think there's buyers out there for him. That's the only thing. That's why people are more sort of.
I think there are buyers for him. They're probably not the buyer who will pay 40, 50, 60 million, which we can then buy a 40, 50, 60 million player. And that's where you're looking at a tweak in the recruitment structure where you go, maybe sometimes you've got to go a bit big and actually go a bit big without having all the sales in there, or take a risk. Yeah, because we are very risk averse with stuff like that.
Can I just add to Chris's, just to echo what he said as well, that I do think it's very reactionary. I'm not saying Mane's going to be the player as old, because to be fair, his consistency has been his most surprising thing. Since he came from Southampton, I didn't think he would. I thought he was hit and miss at times, but he's been consistent for 4 years. He had a poor season, not a bit. He had a poor season. Let's just call it what it was last year. He's had 2 good games. He scored a great goal against Burnley. A finish that even when he was in form would not always take. You'd maybe miss that against Burnley. But we all forget about that because he had a poor game against Chelsea. I think we need to be a bit more balanced at times or not. We're very reactionary. As Chris says, see where he is at Christmas. But at the end of the day, if he chips in with what 10 to 15 goals a season, we're acting like you can just grab that out the air for anybody. That's not how it works. So I feel like, I get what you're saying, Avi. I've got to be honest, I'm a bit more cynical with price-wise. If he does have a poor and we're ready to offload him, who's going to come in and offer 60 million? I don't know if
I think,
right
be
now.
30, 40 range, especially his age as well, Conroy. Because he's going to be 30,
course.
isn't it? So.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, 30 isn't... We still... I think that's a mentality that needs to change in football. People talk about 30-year-olds now like they're... 30's not like it was 20 years ago. When a player was 30, they really were, not moving. 30 is not quite the same thing now. Most players now, I think, played at that sort of level till the mid-30s, 33.
I think Messi and Ronaldo have sort of changed that sort of tone because of the way they've looked after themselves and the goals that they scored. I get what you mean, Chris, but I still think sort of 30 is that sort of where you don't see top clubs will pay big money for it. I know Juventus paid, 90 million, 100 million for Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think that's a one-off. I can't remember the last time a 30-year-old, and maybe someone in the Laura probably...
I think you're intelligent, Abby.
but...
Some players can be intelligent enough to play a deeper role and their movement's that good that they've never had to. So therefore, if the pace goes off a bit, it's not going to affect them. And I do think some wingers aren't adaptable like that. Some are. So there may be a few, mate, but for me, it's like, I'm not going to compare to Messi because Messi's just like different stratosphere altogether. Don't know if you saw his hat-trick last night. Just
it's amazing.
Doing what he does. Even his second goal, it was like 3-1-2s.
Nah, it's only a Farmers League, though. It doesn't count anymore.
That was against Bolivia.
No,
mate.
Bolivia,
Honestly,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh,
international.
It still doesn't count.
Unbelievable. But anyway, the point is I think there's some players who, if you've got that kind of, can maybe move into a number 10. Actually, I think Matt from Coppish had spoke about this before. They said that if maybe Salah can't always play in the right wing, he might look to come as a number 9 or in with that kind of stage. I'd say he's got more chance of being a 9 than a 10 for me personally. I don't think he's great at threading stuff through. Some people might disagree. I think
he's better as a 9.
Your 10 needs to be, you need to be switched on constantly as a 10. But that's what I was just going to add. I feel like it's funny how some players will maybe stay at that value for a bit longer just because of that. So it's going to be interesting, Avi, though, because you talk about wing forwards. Well, this position's only really came the last it's always been there, but the last 5 years it's been very, very popular. So it's going to be interesting to see if when they're 33, 34, if they're still going at that rate or they're scoring that goals they're scoring.
How many goals did Raphinha get last year?
You got 8, I think 8, and then you got 10 assists.
So you got 18 goal assists then. Goals and assists. Sadio Mane got 16.
I think it's the ceiling as well, though, Chris, because he's 24, younger on that.
Yeah, but we're not playing for as good a team as well.
But we're also but we're still talking like that's amazing, and you're going, it's only 2 goals less. So in my head, amazing is when 18. Yeah, it's very good, but it's not amazing. It's not making me go, wow, that's 60 million, bang, there you go.
But you can see what he does in a game, though. There's games where I know Mane, for a fact, has got zero confidence to beat a man right now. Like, you could put money on it. And the Chelsea game, you knew straight. Actually, I thought the first 20 minutes he maybe didn't, but in the rest of the game, his confidence is absolutely gone. I feel like with Raphinha, you can tell that if he can't beat a man, he's got that passing ability, where I wouldn't say any other wingers have got a passing ability like that. Even though I've slated it at the start, and I do stick by that. But he's a type of hybrid, Raphinha. That's why I think he's worth the money, Chris. But I do get what you're saying, mate, because see someone like a St. Max, sometimes we are far too predictable, and he is anything but bloody predictable.
That's what I mean. So, I do think someone like him, and it would be a bit mad, but like, you throw him on for the last 20 minutes. I mean, admittedly, we wouldn't know what he was going to do either, but it could make.
And you could maybe get some structure into him. You could make him more ruthless at times, because I do feel like Klopp can do a lot of players. We talk about Traore. Maybe Traore is too much of a too far away to get him back to any sort of ruthlessness or consistency. But I don't think Max is.
Yeah, I do think Traore is a very overhyped player.
Yeah.
He's a good FIFA player. Someone that you bring on with 99 pace.
He was class the other day against United. He was really good in that game. Can't take that away from him.
But then for the next 6 games, you're going, what?
Conroy, that game, just coming on that game against United, he showed maturity and intelligence, though. He was giving the ball at the right time. Sometimes there's players that just like overrun with the ball and lose it. And yes, he looks powerful when he's running, but he was actually played some really decent positions on the wing as well. And he played some great balls in. But I thought he was really good. And I think it was just before the window closed, everyone was saying, oh, we will take Traore. And I put a little tweet up. And there was a lot of people who were saying, you know what, we will take him. But then again, are we ready to pay 30, 40 million? 30 million for him, maybe that's what Wolves wanted. That's the other thing as well. Someone who ain't going to make an impact straight away. You know, he won't be a first team regular straight away, will he? So
yeah, but that game made me fall back into the trap, Avi, a bit like yourself. I'm like, oh, can't be bored with Traore, and then the first minute he beat 3 men in the middle of the park like the one there, and I'm like, got the popcorn out. I'm all in.
But just coming on to
shot.
Great point from Dan Bay. Claude Makélélé was 30 when he moved to Chelsea for 30 million in 2003. Claude Makélélé, he was brilliant in that DM role, but I think he had a sort of easier role as well. Mane, you know, he's running, and Makélélé positioning as a DM was brilliant. His game didn't rely on like energy and running up the kilometers. He's such a smart player in that midfield. But now that's a good shout. 30 million back then as well, 2003. But that was when Chelsea were taken over by Romans riches
that's a
and
lot of money back then as well. That's a lot of money back then.
It's probably close to 70 or 80 today.
We'll just come on to the predictions. Chris, how do you see this one? Liverpool Leeds. Liverpool win, Leeds draw, Leeds
2-0.
win.
2-0 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool. And the goal scorers?
Mane, just to piss everyone off, and Salah.
Conroy?
Because that's what Salah does.
I don't usually think we'll concede, but I do think we'll concede in this game just because the two previous experiences against Leeds, even when we've been on a good run at the time, I just feel like Leeds can hurt you just with the players they've got and the way they play. Got a lot of credit for Bielsa. Like Jack Harrison as well, I think he's a very good player. Just to be honest, I do like the style they play. They play like that, and obviously naive against United, but because of that, I feel concede. I think we'll win 2-1, and I would say your man Jota, who just scores like it's his natural ability, just does it every week, no bother, like it's nothing. I think that's 16 goals in 33 games. That's crazy, or 15. That's mental.
He's got a good Portugal record too, Conroy.
Yeah,
scored on Thursday. I think he got an assist and a goal as well for Portugal.
Yeah, outstanding. I like it being quiet about Jota because he just does it and no one really goes on about it apart from our fan base, which is fine. Don't care about other fans talking about it, but I just think he's been a excellent addition. So I'd say Jota, and I'm actually going to agree with yourself. I usually like to chuck a Joe Matip header in there, but I'm going to go with Mane just to piss people off.
Do we think Joe Matip will start?
I think he will. He hasn't been on international duty. He's had a week and a half off. I think he'll start.
Do you reckon he'll be able to do Leeds on a Sunday, AC Milan on a Wednesday?
Milan, that's Conroy, if you want to take
Good shout, Chris. Really good shout, mate. I do think with Matip, though, I don't know if this is maybe talking rubbish, but I think Klopp's just accepted he'll get injured when he gets injured, and he'll just go for it game by game.
I think in the next 3 games, I don't see Matip playing all 3. It's which ones you're resting for. Maybe is Palace the one to rest him for?
I think we can afford to rest him now for Milan game. I think Gomez obviously can come in and do a job. Konate against Milan, I think Ibra's back for them, so the height issue. Ibra will want to fancies himself anyway, but at 39-40, he'll fancy himself against Van Dijk. But I think we can rest Matip without any worries. I think obviously last season with the lack of depth options that we've had at centre back, you'd be there's no one here now. Gomez, Matip, but we've got good options now. I wouldn't be too adverse if he didn't start against Milan, but if he's fit, then play him against Leeds, and then I think we've got Brentford next. Haven't we at home the week after? Palace at home. So so I would start him. I'm going with my customary 3-0 win against Leeds. I do think Salah will score 2.
Not going 5-0.
No. Those days are long gone. I'm going 3-0, and I'm going with Salah, and I think Thiago might score. If he starts, I've got a feeling that he might ping one from like 25 yards, similar to what he did last season. Who did Southampton? So I think he might score. So I'm going with 3-0. But I think we're all gonna be saying nothing negative or saying that Liverpool might draw, but Liverpool win. Leicester City. That's a game that's an interesting one because it is the Walker Stadium, isn't it, Chris?
No, it's not been the Walker Stadium for a while. I don't think, mate.
The King Power. I get mixed up from Filbert Street to the Walkers to King Power Stadium, Leicester versus City. Conroy, how do we see this one?
It's a hard one. I do think City will win at the moment. I think Leicester they've started the season reasonably okay. I know they got okay is probably the best. They got battered by West Ham. I think they beat Wolves. And can you remember me, guys? What was their last result, Leicester? It just went out of my head. I think Vardy scored. I don't know if they won their last game or it was a draw. They started reasonably well. I've obviously got Pats and Daka added to their lineup. Who?
Oops.
He's mid-thought there.
They'll have too much.
Sorry, mate, we lost you there.
I think I'm still. All right, I'm back. Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah, okay, now, yeah. You just said,
yeah,
I urged up to Daka and then it went.
Daka, yeah, it's been a good addition, Daka, and I feel like, but I just feel like City will have too much. For me, I'd go for 2-1. No, yeah, 2-1 City. I'd go for 2-1 City. I just think that with the options, as we keep talking about City's depth, I just think they'll have too much. Hopefully, Leicester can cause them, with the fans there, get behind them and cause them a bit of issues like they have in the past. Someone made a comment the other day. I know Leicester beat them 5-3 last year, but City have actually got a pretty good record against Leicester in the last couple of years. I know you can count Community Shield in that this season, but for me, I just think City will have too much.
Chris?
I've got 2-2.
Yeah, I've gone for a draw as well. Go on, Chris.
Yeah, I've just got a feeling Leicester in that right vein of form. City squad depth, look, it's really, really good, apart from the fact they've only got one number 9 in the whole squad, which is surprising, and that they now only have one left back. So there are areas in squad. I mean, if Ederson doesn't play, which I think he will, but Ederson doesn't play, you've got to fancy Leicester to get something against the very aging Scott Carson. Scott Carson's older than me, I think, which is saying something. So
they need to have the ball, though, Chris. They need to have the ball.
Have you seen? I don't think Scott Carson's moved for 3 years. Just take it a shot from our halfway line. You got a chance.
He's still polishing his medal from Istanbul.
Champions League and Premier League winner. Only Champions League. Well, no, I don't know if he's only Champions League winner in that squad, but
I think he is.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Fair shout, mate. Fair shout. But I don't think Scott Carson will play. I think Ederson will play.
I do think so. I've just got a feeling for a 2-2. I don't know why. I just think it'd be 2-2. I think last year it was. I think City won. I think it's a tight game, 1-0. But the year before, I think Leicester again took a point off them. So
and in the year before, I think Leicester. I know the year they won.
It was last season where they beat 5-2, wasn't it?
That was Etihad. But then I think it was. They actually City do have a good record against Leicester. But I know Leicester have beat them a few times as well. So maybe I'm being a bit unfair. But I know when we lost the league and won the Champions League, Leicester beat City 2-0, 2-1. Because I remember Ricardo Pereira scored an absolute edge of the box. What a shot from that was a great goal.
Listen, 2-1 City wouldn't surprise me, but I've just got to sneak it in for a 2-2. It'll be a tight game. I don't see it being a game where City can walk over, and I do think because it's just come back of an international break, that could also potentially. They tend to be a bit quieter games sometimes, so I'm hoping that might have a bit of an impact.
Kev just made a comment to say effective on the counter attack Leicester. No, Kev, I do agree. I just don't think they're as on it as they were last season. Just a few, like the West Ham performance would be the example of that. And I just feel like City will have enough over them. But mate,
what do we make of Brendan's Leicester City this season? I mean, they've had a 5th and a 6th place finish, or maybe 2 5th place finishes. What is the next aim for them? Surely, they've got to make the Champions League sooner or later under him, no? Chris,
potentially, yeah, they could do. But the best thing that could happen for if Brendan Rodgers is thinking of himself or for his own career a little bit, he needs to get Leicester a decent run in Europe. When's the last time Rodgers got a decent run in Europe? He very rarely gets past the last 32s. You know, if he got Leicester to say a quarter final or 7th of the Europa League, and then they did decent in the cups and still finished, in the top 6. That's a step in the right direction. Because if you're getting to quarters and semis of Europa League, you'll again attract more players of the ilk of a Tielemans, a Daka, which then gets you to the next level. I still think squad-wise, the squad's very good. I still feel it's not quite there. I think also this is the first summer Leicester haven't sold a big player, which is probably a surprise, which does make me think I'm not sure what they're going to add next year without selling someone. Now, people may think, I know their owners are rich, but if you look at their sales every year apart from last summer, they have sold a big player, a Kante, a Drinkwater, a Maguire. So
I think if someone had come knocking for Tielemans, they would have sold him, wouldn't they? But I think they just wanted 70, 80, wasn't it, for him?
I think the one was Maddison. I think they probably thought Maddison was going to Arsenal for silly money, and I think eventually even Arsenal, amazingly, didn't pay it.
I do think though that Leicester's recruitment is great. Stupendous. We credit Liverpool all the time. I think Leicester's really good. Leicester back themselves more than any team I've seen to replace big players. Like, I've never seen a team back consistently and consistently be proved right. 2 fifth-place finishes, yes, people look at it. For me, nah, I think the FA Cup was a massive result because it made last season look like a huge success. Leicester winning a trophy and following on from making the Premier League look a flash in the pan. I'm not saying they're going to win another Premier League, but to kind of maintain that success and that Premier League standard, outstanding, great ran club. And I just think, see, to be honest, mate, they're competing with people who are spending a lot of money as well, or huge clubs are either spending a lot of money. And I just think at times, Avi, I get what you're saying, mate, because I know people say they spent a lot of time in the top 4 in the past 2 seasons. I do get that. And at both times kind of bottled it, you could say, or fell away in the final game, firstly being United and then Tottenham. However, I think beating Chelsea in that FA Cup final, that's a big, Brendan Rodgers, everyone calls me the choker in the final. I've managed to turn up to a game against a massive team and upset the apple cart. And I do think he deserves credit for that. And see, if they didn't win that, he would probably got lambasted this summer because they'd done that. I feel like, Chris, your point about Europa League is great because I feel like that's kind of gave him a bit of leniency and now he can focus. And they went out to Slavia Prague last year, who actually had a pretty good team, but they shouldn't be going out to Slavia Prague. So I feel like I agree with Chris. If they can kind of kick on the Europa League, that would be a good season. And if they can get a 5th, 6th place finish, I actually still think that's a success considering the amount of other players the top 4 have maintained this summer.
I think the other thing that killed him last year was losing Harvey Barnes.
Yeah, he was on
momentum as well. Chris, though, Pereira the year before, they always seem. No, I don't mean like in general. Like Leicester seem to lose like pivotal players, and I'm not saying that's maybe down to the way they're training or whatever, but it's happened a few times with Leicester.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the players they brought in are still very good players, but they're not. It's not like for like. I mean, but it's very unless you're Man City or Chelsea, to be honest, it's very hard to have the like for like swap.
I do like the centre. Is it defensive mid or centre mid they've signed? Is it Sumar?
Sumari,
good acquisition. I do think. Listen, we were a bit critical with Patterson Daka. However, I think it's good with them. Iheanacho, Vardy, and Patterson Daka. That's a good options as a number for a number 9 replacement or playing off him. I just think I don't know if it's maybe just me, guys, but I like Leicester. I've always liked Leicester. I just kind of like everything about them, and hopefully, I'd love it if we obviously win the league, but Leicester finish the top 4. I'd be buzzing for them. But I just think they really are competing with this summer. It's maybe just a bit too much. So I think even a 5th, 6th place is a good finish, to be honest, mate. And a run in Europe would be the ideal for Leicester.
Yeah, see, I'm going with Chris. I fancy them getting a draw tomorrow. I think it'll be 1-1. I think the centre back's an issue because I don't think Vestergaard's back either. I think he's still injured, and obviously with Fofana, who's another great boy. Everyone was raving about William Saliba, but it was his partner at Saint Etienne.
Great shout, Avi. Such a good shout. Fofana. Such a good shout. Fofana. What a signing that is.
I never knew this, and I think it's been mentioned as well. He's 6'3" Fofana, but he doesn't look like a 6 foot defender.
Yeah,
he looks more than like Jules Koundé, but he's actually 6 foot, same size as Van Dijk. But you just never see that. I don't know why. Maybe he's not got a neck or whatnot, but yeah, it's he's a big miss though. Him and James Justin as well.
Yeah, he hasn't quite filled out yet, I don't think. He's still quite young. He's a very young centre-back, so you might see that shortly as well.
So I've gone, Conor.
So I was going to say, Justin's another signing as well. Yeah. Like, Leicester will back themselves. Signed him, I think they were in League One, or it might have been the Championship. I think it was League One. Justin for, and it was like, folk were like, is this working out? The guy's like, he's obviously looked at his game, took a season to get used to it, and now it's like right, left back, no bother. He just looks outstanding, and it's like, yeah, again, Leicester back their signings. They don't look at like who they're signing from. League One, no bother. You can come here. Even like, is it Luke Thomas, their left back, the guy who scored at Old Trafford last year? Like, they have confidence to stick him in it, and now I know they got Bertrand in the summer to a bit cover because they've only had him as the only left-footed left back, and Castagna would play in that. Castagna, I just think Leicester, right, albeit it's not the same pressure as obviously Liverpool, I just think recruitment-wise, even before this team they had, remember when they won the league? I think was it with Shakespeare as the coaching staff. I think the director then went to Spurs because he was like finding the signings. So yeah, just to give them the credit they deserve on finding players because they always seem to do it and they always back their signings. So yeah, very good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 1-1 Leicester City. against Leicester versus City, but United versus Newcastle, Conroy,
Don't even bother watching it. He's going to score a
Ronaldo's
hat-trick.
long-awaited return. Unfortunately, it's not on TV with all the hoo-ha that's gone on this week. I think they were still confirming his transfer last night. Up until last night, all these videos and stuff. I think it's got way too cringy and cheesy, but it is what it is. CR7 is back for them. He's actually taking the number off Cavani. Do you think he'll start though, Conroy?
I don't know. He'll score. Listen, it's inevitable. We know it's going to happen. Don't bother watching the highlights if you don't want to see it. I've for years when Ronaldo's United, you just know that he's going to come on. The guy is just a goal scorer, ruthless. He'll score. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't score and he doesn't have a big effect on the game. So let's not kick off when it happens, because it's going to happen. And I can't. And it's obviously a home game against Newcastle, which is a perfect fit for his first game back, because they're not going to upset the apple cart. I wish they could, but it's not going to happen. They'll try and play for a draw, and then United will win like 3-0 or something. So that's it. Not much more than that for me. It's going to happen. Cheers.
Chris, I want to come. It's good because I don't want to spend too much time on them either. But Chris, I want to come to Cristiano Ronaldo. What does he bring apart from the winning mentality? What else does he bring to this United team? Does this make him, title favourites up there with City, Liverpool, Chelsea, or do you still see them still sort of in that sort of third, fourth range?
Don't think it makes them favourites, but any United fan who tells you they're not, they shouldn't be considered as a title rival are kidding themselves, because you can't buy Varane, Ronaldo, and then say, we haven't got a DM. Look at every club in the top 4 or 5 has got a hole of some description. Chelsea have got only 4 centre backs in the club and they pay a back 3. So, you're only one bad injury away from being, from struggling. City don't have any cover at left back. City only have 1 number 9. Liverpool don't have a right back cover. Liverpool probably don't have enough cover up front. And United don't have a DM of any description. For them, the Fred getting banned has probably made them stronger. It's, they're probably actually wanting Fred's ban to be extended. That's probably where they are. But look, this game, it's one of those routine, pointless games. I wouldn't watch it because it'd be 3-0. Newcastle probably have 20% of the ball. It'll be dire. It'll be dull if you're a Newcastle fan, because it's like, the inevitable. And it must be hard being a Newcastle fan, because I just don't feel they have anything. They have St. Maximan and Callum Wilson. You thought, that's a bit of inspiration, but the manager they have, the owners they have, it all feels a bit meh. So
ironically, the front two, Chris, like, see Wilson and Matt, if they were in another team, I think that's ruthless. Like, I think Wilson is very, very underrated. He's got a lot of injuries, but
I think he's out. I think he's out tomorrow.
He is out. Yeah. So don't watch it, folks. Don't. I know you can't watch it, but don't.
You can't watch it.
It's routine 3-0 for me. It wouldn't or more. Do
you think Ronaldo will score?
100%.
Probably.
Yeah. See, I don't see him starting, but I think he'll come on and grab a goal. Yeah, and unfortunately,
why do you not see him starting though? Why do you not see him starting?
I just think he'll get that. I think that ovation when he comes on. I think that's what sort of is primed to be. I think Ollie will sort of, and I presume Ollie will manage that sort of properly. Like, he doesn't want him. Well, you think he's going to be thrown straight into it?
I don't think he's thrust. I think he'll just tell him I want to start, and he'll start him. Like, this is Ronaldo.
Well,
Ronaldo is like.
The only thing with Solskjaer is, and this is my big criticism of Solskjaer, is he's pretty poor with rotation. And I think whenever United have, like, you saw at the end of last season, I know they lost Maguire, but they look tired. But when you looked at the teams he was picking, he doesn't rotate enough. And to be fair, United have got a big squad, so he should rotate more. Who's he going to? Look, you start Ronaldo fan. I'll be interested who he drops. It might, and hopefully, if you're a United fan, you hope it's not Greenwood, because actually Greenwood's been
brilliant
for United, and he's an absolute killer in front of goal. So
this is Ronaldo, Chris. Like, it doesn't.
No,
matter
but
who
I'm saying,
drops. It's like,
you
shouldn't feel bad.
Conroy, that's on Ollie though, Conroy. Because if a player like Greenwood, he's 19, he's on form, he's got that momentum, and you think he scored 3 in 3, hasn't he? I presume Greenwood. I wouldn't drop him. And I get the Ronaldo argument. I totally get that too. Like, look, Ronaldo, but Ronaldo just come off the back of a international as well with Portugal. He scored against the Irish, but
with the help of the referee.
I think dropping Greenwood will be more detrimental to the team than putting Ronaldo in. And there you go. I don't think he should get a free pass. But you're right. It's Oli. Oli will probably, that peer pressure. Ronaldo.
I don't think there's many managers who could actually control in that situation. I'm not even going to go Oli. But so you've got someone who's like that aura, and you know what you're getting. And I feel like I'd just be very surprised if he doesn't start. I hear exactly what you're saying with the Greenwood thing, but it's Newcastle. He's playing up front. They won't have to worry about it. They won't have to run after the ball. They won't have to press. I just think they'll start him and they'll win and he'll score, and it'll be an easy banker for United. So maybe they'll play Greenwood out right, possibly. Don't know.
The ideal probably would be Sancho and Greenwood either side with Ronaldo through the middle. Get legs round him. Don't make
Greenwood deserves to start more than Sancho. Sancho didn't. He was poor against Wolves, so why does Sancho deserve to start?
Well, if you want to do balance, two fast wide lads, because Greenwood can still play wide. Because otherwise, are you going to play Ronaldo wide and put Cavani through the middle? Because I don't think Ronaldo doesn't play wide now. He plays 9. That's his position.
But does Greenwood never really plays on the left, does he? So it'd be Sancho off the left and Greenwood off the right, and then Ronaldo off front. I just, guys,
it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, see if this was like a hard away fixture. I 100% agree with what you're saying, but Newcastle are just going to sit back. Newcastle aren't going to press them, and I just feel like it doesn't really matter who they start. They're just going to win, and Ronaldo will score, in my opinion. And I can just see him starting because he's kind of the ego he's got anyway. I think that he'd probably tell him last night, I want to start. And as you said, it's not even a go Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but it's very hard if you're signing a player of that kind of stratosphere, nowhere near Messi, but still at that stratosphere. You're going to expect that. But we'll see. You might be right, guys.
So I think everyone's gone for a routine United win then.
Yeah. We do fancy football, mate.
Yeah, just got one more game to cover. Chelsea versus Villa.
2-1 Chelsea.
Chris, Chelsea routine 2-1?
Not routine, but it'd be a difficult 2-1, I think.
Conroy's feeling the same?
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, though. It's like, I do think Villa, right, I've got a surprise in them. Just with the players I've got, I do think they're replaced. I know it's taking time, but you've got Bailey, Ings and Buendia. I've always been a fan of Buendia. I've always liked him. Even in the Norwich, that first half of the season, I remember he was up there, I think just behind De Bruyne for chances created, big chances created. He was just like, you can just watch him. You don't have to fling the stats at it, just watch him. So it might not be as easy as we're saying, I know it's a win, but I actually think that'll be quite a good game, lads. I actually am quite interested to check that one out, because
they beat them in the last game of the season, didn't they, Villa? At home, 2-0.
2-1.
But I think aren't Buendia and Martinez out though because of the whole Argentina?
No, I was just mentioning them, but you've got Bailey and you've got Ings. I do think Chelsea will win. In general, I think Villa's going to be interesting. See if it's at Villa Park against a big side this season. It's going to be quite an interesting one. It's I'm looking forward to How you doing, Klopp TV? How you doing, mate? Go and check out Klopp TV. It's a great channel. My Welsh mate is very good. But I think 2-1, same as Chris. I think it will just be a kind of, they will get the win. But Villa, I'm going to be interesting this season to watch.
I'm going with Sam Thunder. He says Villa nick a point. It's a game like this. I think Chelsea will struggle more in the season compared to the bigger games. Villa beat them end of last season, as did Arsenal and West Brom. I think last season, because of the Champions League and whatnot, I think Chelsea were a little bit distracted. But I can see Villa getting a draw here at Stamford Bridge. I really can. I can see. I like Dean Smith. I really think he's a good manager. I tip him for the next England job after Gareth Southgate. I think he's good with youngsters. He brings them on. You could just got to see the work that he did with Jack Grealish, Douglas, Luiz, the Brazilian, the other players around him, Matty Cash, who came in from Forest. He's done a good job at Villa.
Yeah, Cash out's great, Avi. Matty Cash, the levels he's performing. I know he got done by Watford the other week, but this guy was a championship right back, and last season against us, I thought he looked like, where have they signed this guy from? He looked outstanding. Great shout, mate. Brown shout.
They've brought well as well, Conrad. I think the signing of Leon Bailey, who was impressive last season again, he seems to be revitalised. And then you got Buendia, like you said, Danny Ings, which a signing that came out of nowhere, literally no one knew
30 mil, mate. 30 mil. What a bargain for that guy who's going to score 20 goals a season for you.
I think we got 2%. Didn't we make 6%? Should have gone towards the transfer fee. But I fancy Chelsea and Villa. Right, and Chris, I didn't even write that down today for my next agenda. 3 fantasy players of the week. I just sent it to you, did I? No, I didn't
Yeah.
have it on my notes though. But 3 fantasy players, Conroy. It's a game that me and Connor play. Whilst
Sounds
away, he has this database. We picked 3 fantasy players for the week to look out for people who play this fantasy on their sort of what is it? Fantasy football, isn't it?
No, I
4 points
play.
and whatnot.
I'm in the league as well. I don't usually do it, but I've decided to do it this year.
I get
that's
on fantasy football. Avi.
all right. I've not checked this week. Oh, Xavi, I don't know. How are you getting on, Avi? You doing all right with the fantasy league?
No, I don't play it. I'll just pick 3 players out that I fancy doing well.
All right.
I think I had a blinding first week, and then the second, third week, it's been absolutely a horror show. I don't think I've picked any points up from what Connor tells me, but this week I will go with your 3, Chris, while I think about which 3 I'm going to go for.
Let's go. Ivan Toney at versus Brighton.
Stole
Antonio,
that, Chris. You stole that from me, mate. You stole that from me.
Antonio versus Southampton.
You can't pick the same ones. You can't pick the same
You stole
ones.
that again, Chris. You're having a laugh, mate.
I'll go with Salah because he always scores normally. So.
Absolute playing to the fans, playing to the crowd, Chris. No got time for
That's
that,
why
mate.
That's why
I picked Paul Scholes during the week just to be different.
Listen, I'd be quiet about your performance in that draft. The Pringle comment will come back out.
It will, mate. It will. But listen, that team was good.
It was a good team, to be fair.
It was decent, yeah. But listen, mine would be. I genuinely was going to go for Antonio. I've been talking about all season. But for me, Arsenal are playing Norwich now. As far as I'm aware. I didn't watch the England game. No, but Saka isn't injured. Saka's fit, yeah, just to clarify. I don't think he's injured.
I think so. I think he's just rested.
So I'll go for Saka. I was going to go for Tony as well. So I'll go for Saka. I would go for, if you're going to pick it, Lukaku. Lukaku against Villa. And I was going to do Ronaldo as well, but I'll go for that.
It can't be. What's going on? It can't be common players. These are common players, of course. Ronaldo.
Well, no, I didn't have common ones, but then he stole that. So what I'll do is I'll pick another one outside the box. Then I'll go for
Eduardo's a good one.
Chris, that's my. That was going to be me for against Spurs, but you can nick it if you want.
Saka, Lukaku, and I'll go for another one. I'll go for who's Leicester playing. We'll go for Brighton. I'd say. I think Brighton, a Brighton player. I might say. Actually, no. I'm just going to go for. What's his name? Nah, I'll just stick with Ronaldo. Sorry, guys, I can't think. You took my free there, mate.
I'm going to go with 3. Emil Smith-Rowe. I think if he starts tomorrow, he should start tomorrow.
You're obsessed with him more than you are with Taki.
No, I like Emil Smith-Rowe. I do like him. I do like him as a player. Honestly, if he was available, I would take a chance on him. Not even a chance. I think he's a great talent. I'm going for Ismail Assar this week. I think he will have a good game. I think they're home. Who are they home to, Chris? You want to remind me? Wolves. So I think you'll do well. And Uds. I don't want to shag his name here, but Udson Edouard. Is that how you say it, Chris Conroy? Udson Edouard from Celtic. Yeah. I want to see how he gets on because they had Dembele, didn't they, who went to Lyon from the Scottish League, and he hasn't really...
Then he went to Atletico Madrid as well.
Atletico Madrid, yeah, which is surprising, but I don't think he's had any game time under Simeone.
Yeah, got that medal, isn't he? He's not caring. He's laughing at the bank. He's got that La Liga medal.
Yeah, that's true as well. So as far as that's a kick in the teeth for Barca, isn't it? Edouard is another that's scored a handful of goals, a bag full of goals in the Scottish League. So it'd be interesting to see how he develops under Vieira. They've got some good players. They've got that Mark Guhi who came from Chelsea. Eze's there. You've got obviously Zaha. Zaha's another one. Chris. He just can't seem to get a move away, can he? Zaha, it's been 3-4 years now. He's always trying to.
No one can afford him.
No one can afford.
He's done a Harry Kane, signed a 5-6 year deal with no release clause. It's a bit.
Yeah, Conor
I've no sympathy for someone who.
That's that. I'll go change that. Avi, change mine. Ronaldo to Gallagher because
Conor's another one. Yeah,
Gallagher.
It is Conor Gallagher, isn't it? At Palace.
Yeah.
Was that move made permanent? Does anyone know, or was that still on loan?
As far as I'm aware, it's on loan with either it's an option to buy at the end of the season. I might be wrong there. It's definitely still a loan though, because I know Chelsea. I was listening to a Chelsea fan the other day, and he was saying you got Billy Gilmore out on loan, you got Gallagher out on loan, and they were talking about how they're actually not small in midfield now, but they could maybe do with another midfielder on the bench.
Yep. Chris, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So Norman's just asked about entry to the women's game. If you're a season ticket, if you're a season ticket or a fan card holder, you do get into women's games for free, but you still have to go onto the website and book your ticket. But you can tell them that you're season ticket, so you won't pay for it, but you still have to pre-book it to get your QR code. But yeah, if you're a season ticket holder, you do get the game for free. So
And
another
where do
reason
they
to go.
play? Where do they play, Chris? Just an FYI.
Prenton Park. It's 2:00
Traffic.
kickoff this Sunday. It's Bristol.
Nice. Brilliant stuff. Barry Devaney. Yes, I tweeted this the other day. Abby mentioned the All Ireland final tomorrow. Mayo for Sanders, Tyrone for Sam Maguire Cup. I have been told by, I don't know what you guys are with All Ireland Gaelic football. Any tips here, Conroy? Are you a fan? Do you know the rules? Do you know how?
I think I'll need to start watching it because obviously I'm on the Trippers a lot and appreciate that. And I'm not the best with knowledge on that, but I will educate myself for next time on it. I promise.
Gav knew absolutely nothing. So I text Gav literally 20 minutes before the show. I said, Gav, I need some information on Mayo. They've not won it since 1951. It's one of those sort of Boston Red Sox stories because, there's a curse. It's being dubbed, if Laura might correct me, it's called the curse versus the virus. I think the virus are the team who are called Tyrone and the curse is the Mayo. So I was saying to Gav, I said, Gav, any tips for me? He goes, Avi, I know absolutely F all about Gaelic football. I go, what do you mean? It's your parts of the world, isn't it? He goes, yeah, but it doesn't mean that I watch it. He goes, I don't know. But from what I've been told is to support Mayo. I thought that was a joke, but that team actually exists. Tyrone is another name that does exist. They are a Gaelic football team. So I'm going for Mayo. I've always loved the underdog stories. Like Chris Harper said, Mayo for Sam, 60 years in the making, my county. So yeah, if Chris Harper's supporting them, I'm supporting them. Chris, I know you've watched a bit of Gaelic football. Go on then.
Sam, Mayo all the way for me, mate.
Mayo.
I do actually have a story on this, Avi. I do have a story.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it, Connor.
So
Conroy's
listen, the comments on this might be rubbish, but I like a podcast, a Scottish football podcast called Open Goal. It's really good. And they were interviewing someone, and there was a story. There was a Scottish football player who played in Scotland, played in the Premier League in Scotland. His name was Richie Foran. He played for Inverness and a few different teams. But basically, I think the story goes that he's got family in Ireland. So he went back for a weekend, right? Now, he is a professional footballer, so obviously he's decent with a ball. So he had to inform his manager that he had to go away. I think it was for a week or something like that, right? So his manager turns on the TV and it's I don't know if it was the final, forgive me folks, I'm not sure if it was the final, but he turns on this All Ireland, I'm sure it's Gaelic football, All Ireland Gaelic football, and he was playing right side for the winners of this match, and he was on TV, and he'd left his team, right, to go to a wake, or it was a wedding or something in Ireland, or it was something he had to get exceptional circumstances, and he played in a final I'll get the link and I'll send it out. Honestly, it's unbelievable.
That reminds
me.
And
he won as well. Unbelievable.
That reminds me of when I think Paul Merson said to Harry Redknapp that he needed we shouldn't laugh on it, but he wanted to go on a sort of rehab therapy stuff out in the Caribbean islands. So Harry Redknapp said, yeah, come on, it'll be good for you. The next minute he's got pictures. He's got an agent out partying with Merson. And this guy goes, Harry, do you know?
It wasn't the Caribbean, no. It was meant to be in England, Avi.
It was England. Oh, and then he flew out to Caribbean, didn't he?
Because he came back with a tan. He's like, where'd you get your tan from?
And Redknapp said, what the fuck's going on here? Like, literally. But that's a brilliant story, that is. So the fella that was at Inverness went to play Gaelic football, was it?
So it was basically like he had to go to Ireland for something. Right? He's got Irish family, and he ended up playing. And I don't know if it's exactly the same. I'm sure it's that sport because I'm positive it was, because it said all Ireland football, and he ended up playing in a match because he was a professional footballer. That's unbelievable, and it is a story. I'll send you the link. Unbelievable. And
with Gaelic football, you're allowed to use your hands, isn't it? It's a crossbreed between football and rugby, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, you can hold your hands and run with it, and you've got the goals as well, so you can shoot, like you can volley it into the goal as well.
Yeah, because they got goal nets, and then they got the sort of big, sort of like rugby sort of goal as well, haven't they?
It's like a mixture, yeah.
But I'll probably give it a watch. But yeah, there you go. I've put Mayo on the map now on the Daytrippers, so we'll be supporting them tomorrow. I'll try to catch it. I want to come to a new sport. Well, not new sport in terms of the Daytrippers. The season started yesterday. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you don't know, they're owned by the Glazer family. They also have probably the greatest ever quarterback in NFL history, some might argue. But Tom Brady, they beat the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. Anyone give it a watch? Conroy, did you manage to catch any of it? Because I know
I never caught any, but I managed to get my prediction before the game. And for me, it was it's interesting. We spoke previously before it. I never managed to catch the game, but just in general, it's like we're talking that if you've got Tom Brady, it just seems to be a cheat code when it comes to NFL, and it's just quite interesting. I don't know if he's know the record off the top, but I don't watch it religiously. But every time he seems to go somewhere, they seem to be successful, and it's actually getting to the point now where I think he's completed the game. And I
think he's won it 7 times. I think he's won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Chris, you're a big fan of the Patriots, aren't you? There's a little story behind that as well, because of the owner or something. If you want to give us a story.
Oh yeah. Well, I keep telling people I'm a Patriots fan. It's basically like saying you're a Man United fan in football, isn't it? So people hate you automatically. But my reason behind it was the guy who owns the Patriots, Robert Kraft, was rumored to be buying Liverpool. It was a big story that he was going to buy Liverpool, and it fell through. And my mates started watching American football and said, you should pick a team. So I picked them, and I said, well, this guy's going to buy Liverpool. I'll go with him. Obviously, then realising they're actually quite good. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched much American football. I watch Super Bowls on when I can. I haven't really watched it religiously since it stopped being on Channel 4. Channel 4, because Channel 4 used to have Golazzo. So you had the Italian football, and then you had straight after that the American football highlights. It's great good fun. I still haven't learned the rules yet. I know when a flag's on the pitch, it's not a good thing. It means someone's getting called up for something.
That means it's a foul or something. Someone's been dragged by the neck or something.
The one thing I do like in American football, which I think it'd be great to bring it into England, but they won't do it because we'd have to go down to Taylor Talk for the
halftime show.
No, the halftime show. They're all linked to the tannoy, the refs. So when the flag is on the pitch, they press a button and the whole tannoy hears, the whole stadium hears and goes, the foul is by number 10. That's what it is. Now, whether you agree with the call, you don't agree with it's fine. There's no confusion. There's no, what's that for? So that's your next stage of VAR, to be honest, is you press a button and say, handball, James, he's off. And everyone in the stadium goes, well, I know what he's done. Whether you agree with it is a different matter. That's a different call then. But
the A-League have done that, haven't they? In Australia, the Soccer League, they've got transparency like that. They've got referees on the mic who will give up the decision. They've tried it once.
There is more respect in the A-League, though, from players to not swear at them.
Isn't the guy though who was in that video on the A-League? The one he retired.
Premier League this season.
He's Premier League year, isn't he?
Starts this year. What a referee! What a performance! Big time. This guy is next level. We should all be looking forward to having him in the Premier League. Has a great relationship with Australian players. If he's going to YouTube, you can check his performance. It was a mic'd up performance, and it showed you how they all use VAR and the linesmen talk to each other. So he is a very good referee, very nice guy. You can tell he's got a good relationship. So if it all comes crumbling down, we can tell there's maybe an inner problem when it comes to Premier League games. It's not just down to the referees doing it. It's maybe there's a problem with the culture in general, because there's Australian players. He's had to send one off in that, and there's respect there. So I get what you're saying, Chris. I do agree, but I think it comes from both sides. If you ask me, we're too easy to pick on one side when it comes to that argument. I think there's not enough respect.
But we did the respect thing. My background is I played hockey, and you'd never backchat an umpire in hockey because they used to give you a free hit, like a free kick. But if you backchat, they brought it forward 10 yards, and they keep doing it. So they got
do that in rugby as well, don't they?
They do it in rugby, and you obviously have green cards for telling people and then yellow cards for sin bins. But we used to have this thing: gob off for the ref. They'll bring the free kick forward 5 yards, and it never got enforced. So it's partly ego, partly going enforce.
But then the first thing fans will say, right? I guarantee if I said that, the first thing fans will say, "Oh, you can't talk to the ref now. You can never win. People will moan about
you know what? Trust me, players. And look, when I played hockey, there are ways of talking to a referee without getting yourself.
No, I agree. I think it's got to be a balance.
Players will just learn to be cuter, and players will be learned to get their point across in a different way.
Just want to come on Henry's big point. Lawrence Taylor, wasn't this the guy who fought Bam Bam Bigelow, Chris, in that WrestleMania?
It was, yeah.
It was, wasn't it, Lawrence Taylor? I thought if we can just get that confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it was that Lawrence Taylor who fought Bam Bam in WrestleMania. I think the same card was Shawn Michaels and Diesel. But watching the Buccaneers, I thought actually, and I'm not here to claim that I know my stuff about NFL because I don't, but I did sort of pick Dak Prescott to have a good game. He did. Brady and Gronk, again, I think it was the 100th time where Brady's made a pass to the Gronk and he put a touchdown or whatever you want to call it. But I thought it could have gone either way. CD Lamb, I thought he fumbled quite a couple of passes from Dak Prescott, but just I am going to be supporting the 49ers. Obviously, San Francisco, they've got a beautiful stadium. I will try to go up there this season as well. It's only like a 30-minute drive, but 3 players that I've earmarked this season is Lamar Jackson, who's a quarterback. He's a very good, there's a new term called pocket passer. So people are going to rile me in the commentary because they know that he's just chatting out of his backside. Jimmy G, who's the main quarterback for the 49ers, I think he will get off to a good start. But Trey Lance, he's one not to be stepped on. He's a youngster. He's from the college. I think it's his first sort of pro season. So he will be providing stiff competition. And Nick Bosa, who also plays for the 49ers. Nick Bosa, I think, is a defensive, I think, what do you call it? A running back line or something like that, Chris? Is that what they call it? He's there to support the QB.
You had me at pocket pass, which I just thought you're gonna try and use that now. That's your new tacky thing now, is it? Why do we have tacky? He's a pocket passer, mate. Pocket pass.
That's actually a good word. And then obviously Kansas City. I know Kansas City have been in the last 2 finals. I know Patrick Mahomes is the sort of next. You see billboards of him everywhere. Him and Tyreek Hill, who's the wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think Kansas City are my pick, but I'd love it if the 49ers do it. They haven't won it in a long, long time. But
I don't have a team, Avi. I don't have any.
Oh, you support San Francisco 49ers. It's fine. It's where I live right now. So
no, that's good. I'll put in the comments if anyone suggests who to go for. I do like Mahomes. A proper like what would you call it? A commercial fan. Just watch the Super Bowl. But I did think Mahomes was like a hybrid of a quarterback. Like in that final, he was doing, the quarterback usual great passes, but then he was just like running through people. He's crazy.
He's what they call there's a word for him because he's a running quarterback because he can run with it as well. And I think that's key. If Kieran wants me to, if he wants to correct me, or Laura, whoever watches NFL, he's a quarterback, Mahomes, who can run with the ball as well. And that's a key skill to have. But I think Henry's big con has said Joe Montana. Yeah, San Francisco 49 legends. I think Joe Montana has won the Super Bowl 4 times.
Bit of breaking news for you, Avi.
Yep.
Paul Joyce, Premier League players cleared to play this weekend by FIFA after Brazil, Chile, Mexico and Paraguay agreed to waive the automatic 5-day restriction.
Wonderful.
So Klopp has basically now got, Klopp and Leeds, to be fair, have now got a day's prep. If you like Man United, you go in, I've got like 20 minutes in the morning to prep.
It's just a bloody bubble sometimes, isn't it? Like there's no other area in the world where you could waste so much time. There's no other business in the world where so much time could be wasted about just politics, really. Well, maybe like for me, it's just like maybe there is, but for me, it's just like this has been nonsense for 3 days. Like, and maybe I'm being unfair because I understand that Brazil probably feel hard done by, but you couldn't. Yeah. There's no other businesses you could leave it to Friday night at 11:15. Not for me anyway. But
you've not been on one of these shows before, have you?
No, I don't. Does that not you though? It's just sometimes it just feels like sometimes we're getting this bubble of football. I think
the phrase is called touch. I think pardon my language. I think the phrase is called dick swinging. Yeah. I think that's basically what it was. It was ego. Which ego?
A bit out of touch sometimes of the real world with stuff. That's all. That's just me anyway.
Conor, you've been assigned a team by
they're rubbish.
Kieran Thorne, New York Jets.
Kieran, didn't do me in here, mate. Like I like Mahomes, so it's either whoever he plays for. You said Kansas City or New York Jets. So they're my 2 teams. I'll take those 2. Whoever wins that week, I'll use on, and I'll let you know. I'll text you before it, Avi, and you can just say Connor's team won or lost, whatever you want to say. I'll comment.
Laura Duffy coming from me. Look, I literally wrote down notes for today for the NFL because I'm like, I'm going to try to get into this. I'm not going to try to sleep throughout the games. I'm going to try and watch this as well. But guys, last title, last sort of subject. I want to touch upon this: the U.S. Open tennis final. Emma Raducanu, who is 18 years old, British. She's in her first Grand Slam final. She did make the 4th round in Wimbledon. She's playing Leylah Fernandez, who's also 19, Canadian. It's her first final too. Did you manage to watch any of the semis or quarters fillers or?
No, I caught up from a few people who told me about it, but I've read, isn't she the first ever qualifier to get to basically
both of them? Final? Yeah, both of them are. Yeah, Leylah Fernandez
which is a big thing. And first British woman since over 40 years now to get to a Grand
Yeah,
Slam
well,
final.
I mean, to
Brilliant.
be honest, it's kind of its own entity, Chris, because I think, as Avi said, they're both unseeded. I mean, that's the first time since, I don't know, I saw the date this morning. It's like this, I don't think this should be compared to anything. I think this is just, it's unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes when I heard it, when I saw the tweet and then I listened to the radio this morning. It's just magnificent. And the thing is, obviously, because she's British, but if the other person wins as well, it's like, it's whoever wins, it's an unreal achievement.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. I mean, me and Avi would talk about tennis beforehand. I kind of used to watch tennis quite a bit when I was younger. Then it's like everything. There's only so many hours in the day, and you can't watch every sport. So I used to sort of watching, quarterfinals, semi-finals when, like, if a Brit did quite well in it. So it definitely was to watch because either way, you watch with a bit of history making there. So, and it's not funny if you get to watch like a first, So it'd be the first time that you said 2 qualifiers have got to a final. So you may as well watch it.
I tell you what's good about the women's tennis right now. There's loads of them who are winning the majors differently. Like in tennis, in the last sort of 5, 10 years, 15 years, we've only seen sort of Nadal take over Federer. Djokovic, now is on the verge of winning his sort of 21st major Grand Slam final. I think he's in the semis today at 4:00. But in tennis, it's refreshing because you've seen like different sort of personalities come and win. Justin Hardy and Henin was around. You've got obviously Serena Williams, who's dominated, but you've always had different winners in different sort of courts, whether it's the US, the Australian, Wimbledon, or the French. So it's quite refreshing to see that the women's game, you could be a qualifier, just like we've seen here with Raducanu and Fernandez, both in the final. And, that's history making. But Kevin O'Sullivan has just said this US final is a story about immigrants. 2 finalists are from immigrants. And I think Leila Fernandez is originally from the Philippines and their family came to Canada. Or she was born in Canada, but of, immigrant family. And then Raducanu, I think she's got a bit of Romanian in her as well. So that's going to be a fascinating final. It is history making. I think the first British woman in the final of a Grand Slam since, I don't know, Sue Barker. Did Sue Barker ever make a final? I don't know.
It's funny how you said it's her first final. Like, this is
At 18
final. This is just unbelievable. Like, it could be the only thing she does, and it's still one of the best achievements. And she's basically got to a top 4. There's only 4 major finals, and she's got to one of them, and she's 18. Like, that's just, she could stop tomorrow. She could stop after the final, and that still should be one of the best achievements in Britain for a long time. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I can't get my head around it, to be honest. It's really funny, your comparison, Avi, because I don't know if you remember, maybe it's not a great comparison, but do you remember when Tiger Woods stopped golf, stopped dominating, and then there was different winners? I know it's like it was like, don't get me wrong, I'm not being credible. Like, you always had Mickelson then, there were still big winners, but Woods dominated, and then what happened is every tournament, it was someone else. The betting was really good, if you like betting, because it was like each tournament you're getting good odds, because it wasn't there was a favourite, but it never really worked out that way. And it's really women's tennis a bit like this. I really enjoyed watching Wimbledon, actually, because there's a few surprise results, especially people hadn't heard of before. So it's really refreshing. I completely agree, mate. It's really, really good. And I hope she wins. I don't think she will, though, because I don't know if I'll just go with, apologies, guys, with President. But see, when it's either the fairy tale story is she wins, the British girl wins, and 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen. However, they're both qualifiers, or they're both not seeded. So really, it's such a strange situation. It's like you've not actually got. It's not like she's versing someone who's like 20th in the world or 30th in the world. It's a strange situation. But usually, I'm the cynical when it comes to fairy tales. That doesn't usually work out in competitive sport like that. It's usually the opposite.
Yeah, I remember when Greg Rosetsky made the US Open final back in 97 or 98. It was his first final, and he lost the final, but it was another great sort of story when Greg made it into the final, because it was always about Tim Henman, wasn't it? Will he win Wimbledon? Won't he win Wimbledon? He was unlucky in the semis, but it was Greg actually who got into a final. And then obviously we had Andy Murray, coming through, and who actually went on to win majors as well. But I did want to touch upon the boxing as well. Tomorrow, a 58-year-old Evander Holyfield is fighting. Chris, boxing, these celebrity sort of fights, you're not a fan of it, are you really? Or
absolutely no interest in it.
Yeah, simple. Yeah. The best blunt answer you could give, to be honest.
Yeah, but I must admit, I'm not a massive boxer. I watched bits of it. I mean, I watched Joshua, I think it was only beat Klitschko.
Yeah.
I basically wasn't watching the fight because I wasn't interested in it. I went out.
That was some fight though. That was some
well,
fight.
I went to town with my mates and we ended up at a sports bar and it was on. And then you got caught up in the atmosphere. You go, oh yeah, boxing is heavyweight boxing is really exciting. I missed the Lennox Lewis days. That's when it was brilliant. I dip in and out of it, so I'm still waiting for the big fight, the big British fight. We all know what the big British fight we want. But yeah, celebrity boxing, it just doesn't interest me in the slightest. It's just YouTubers whacking each other around.
But is that celebrity anymore though? This is the question. Because Jake Paul, as much as I like Avi, I don't know Avi. I won't go into that because that's maybe too much conversation. But I was just going to say, like, is it more interesting to have a guy's fourth fight, and I don't like Jake Paul, against someone like a Tyrone Woodley, who's you don't know what's going to happen, compared to just like a boxer that no one knows, and you might say, yeah, Jake Paul could get knocked out, but what I'm saying is, like, people are interested because it's not happened before. That's why it's selling so much, and it's continuing to sell.
It drives interest probably because, and I could be wrong here, and people will correct me, you probably want the YouTuber or the celebrity to get knocked out.
Yeah.
So you're kind of thinking there's probably more chance I might see a celeb to get knocked out, which people probably won't see. But that's, I don't know. I think if you're traditional, that's probably not really the boxing thing.
But these traditional fighters are not beating
they're not drawing,
the YouTuber. So. They're not beating them. So as Avi, we felt passionate about this. Does this look bad on the UFC? Like, for me, it's like they're not doing what they're saying. It's showing that boxing and UFC are quite a bit apart. Anderson Silva's a bit different, Avi. I'm not saying all ones, but that Tyrone Woodley, like, that's, for me, that's changed it a little bit. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Jake Paul, in that comment, he should have knocked him out, but he didn't knock him out. This is the thing. These
he held back, yeah.
Fighters.
See, so that's the frustration is you want to say to them, don't hold back. It's almost like in a way, like, part of me thinks the only way you'd stop these fights is if you embarrass them, but they won't stop these fights because didn't Jake Paul make like $1 million from this, or probably more?
Yeah,
he's also paying people money as well, though. Like, he's paying Tyrone Wood with his own pocket. So if you're a Tyrone Wood, a UFC fighter, you're getting more money off one of these fights than three UFC fights. Or
more Conroy, the amount of fights that Tyron Woodley had in the UFC. I don't think he made this much money. He made a single payment of $2 million. I think Ben Askren, who came to the UFC, only had three fights before he sort of walked away from the sport. He made $1 million. I think it's a mockery. Cal from Coppish enjoys the sort of camaraderie and the sort of like the talk and the trash talking and stuff, which I don't mind. I don't mind the trash talking, but the actual sport, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of Jake Paul. But I look at Jake Paul's YouTube channel. I didn't even know him. It was only my nephews that said, "Oh, Uncle, you need to know who Logan Paul and Jake Paul are. They've got like 50 million subscribers. They've got like 3-4 million views." And I was like, "What? These people?" And I've seen things that Logan Paul has done in the past.
I do like the new stuff with, like, I agree with you, the Forest incident and that. But I think, to be fair to Logan Paul, I do think he's changed a lot. Like, I'm not saying
he's matured 100%,
like that, but I do like his podcast and some of his views recently on stuff I actually agree with. Like, there's been a few things that he's kind of stood out and been like outspoken on. Jake Paul, let's be honest, we can all swear he's just a bit of a dickhead, isn't he? He's just a bit of an arsehole. He is, but he knows that as well. But the problem is,
but the world's we're in,
these fighters, UFC experts who are analysing this and saying this is going to happen, that's twice that they've got it completely wrong. So all I'm saying is,
how long before a celebrity fighter will get the title?
Yeah. No, but Chris, these what people want. This is unfortunately what the audience want to see. Look, there's one who says, "I'll pay to watch Grizz and Saeed," and I'm not joking here. I'm not literally joking here. Like, Saeed TV has his channel on Grizz, right? I'm not joking, but people would actually go and watch this. People actually want to see celebrities on YouTube go against each other. There was a YouTube tournament here that went. They made millions of it. They made like 20-30 million. It was literally YouTubers going against one another out here in the US. They sold out Inglewood, LA.
That was the one with Anderson. It's not Anderson. Gibb from. No, that was a TikTok one. Sorry, the YouTube one was.
Conor was a big fan. Conor is a big fan.
No, I'm not a big fan. No, basically, I'll shout out to, like, obviously the True Geordie, the kickoff and stuff, but a lot of that kind of intertwines with some of the promotion, especially that. So you see it being advertised all the time. do you know what I'm a fan of? I'm not a fan of that, right? And it's not against the tradition of boxing, but I do like a fight, Avi, where you don't know what's going to happen, because you very rarely get that. So see, like when I like Joshua, but it got to a point where it was boring. Like when he was fighting those people, and then the good fights happened, it was great. But it's like some of these fights, I think people like it because it's not a banker. I'm not just talking about the Jake Paul. I'm talking about YouTube boxing and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, when it's just like it's not a very good standard. It is quite poor, but I understand why people buy into it, because I thought the Aston thing was like waste of time. But then when the Woodley thing, I feel like the next fight that happened, I do think Jake Paul's going to get knocked out and probably badly hurt. However, people saying Woodley hesitated. He did hesitate, but this is a 20-year experienced guy. It's maybe showing that you can't just slot into boxing if you've done UFC. That's what it's showing anyway. So that's why I find it interesting, Chris, because the more these fighters don't get knocked out, the YouTubers, it's going to keep happening, mate. I guarantee it's going to happen. I think maybe, I don't know if Tommy Fury will be next, but you maybe find that's.
They're talking about the rematch now. They're talking about the rematch.
Rematch, and then a Fury once involved, because see, for Tommy Fury, that's bigger for his career than fighting 3 of the boxers now, because that gets him a lot of following and a lot of viewership. And as sad as it is, that's the type of culture we're in now, because views will get you out there for bigger opportunities. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, I don't have nothing against that. If that's what people want to see, that's on them. But for me, I'm still a purist. I like to see a good, like Chris mentioned, everyone wants to see Fury and Joshua. But what is stopping that? It's the promoters. It's a dirty game as well. So people are wanting to switch off from that and go and seeing these YouTube fights.
Maybe that's because the fights they want happen, and maybe that's why Avi. Maybe it's like it only takes 3 months to organise one, or 4 months to organise one of these fights. Whereas boxing, it feels like you need to wait 3 years when they're already past their best. So yeah, maybe that's why as well. Mate. It's a weird time for sport and fighting. It's a strange time.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And
speaking of no views,
cricket,
let's talk about the England cricket, which didn't happen. Which is a bit of a
this was because of because we don't get no cricket coverage on in the US. It's non-existent.
Yeah,
but COVID wasn't it something?
COVID outbreak. So I think it's quite a number of players. So
yeah, this morning. Some
said postponed, some have said cancelled. But it's a 50-50 argument in the sense that some were going. We have a 21-man squad, so you probably could name an 11, which Premier League, we're used to that. But then you got the flip side of, well, if England won it was a 2-2, or it was India to seal the series. And it was a bit like, well, if India had to play, had quite a few quite senior players out, it wouldn't have been a bit of a bit like the Logan Ball and boxing would be a bit farcical then, because then you'd be like, well, England will win because it's the India B team that are fit. So it's a bit of a weird situation. A bit surprising it was the day of the game it announced, but look, you don't want the tests come out.
Well, I'm sure fans were getting ready to travel as well to Old Trafford, was it?
Yeah. It was sold out apparently. Next first 3 days were sold out. So you're talking a lot of fans there who've missed out on cricket, and it was quite intriguing because I think people want to say, could England bounce back again? Because the big fault with England is their top 3 is flaky. It's Joe Root who's the only thing he's the only person who can bat, and then the middle order are very hit and miss at the moment. So England's batting is not great. And Kev says that IPL's in 9 days. That could be a thing. I mean, they've now said for next year they've agreed a 3-week break in the cricket international calendar, so all the England players can play in the 100 this year. So because for the 100, the first year of it, half the England lads didn't play it because they were playing Test cricket or they're playing one-day cricket. So they've now reorganised the calendar again so that all the England players can play in the 100. Because, to be fair, that's where the money is, and that's the 100's the new big sport now. It's, for those who don't know, the 100, it's like T20, but it's 100 balls, and you bowl a bit like overs of 5. So it's quite, look, I've watched it, it's quite exciting. One thing it has done really well is it's been pushed on BBC, and they always put the women's game on first, and then you have the men's game on afterwards. So people get to watch 2 games back to back for the one ticket, and also you get to watch both games on telly, so it pushes both the women's and the men's game. So there is a benefit to it. But yeah, it's a bit farcical, unfortunately.
Brilliant. And on that note, guys, 1 hour and 30, longest show. So that's what happens when you get Chris, the knowledge of power. No, it's been a great show, though. I appreciate Conroy. Sorry, I call you Conrad. at the beginning of the show. So apologies,
mate.
Connor.
Don't
I'm
worry
so
about that,
sorry.
mate. I've been called Connor. I've been called. I was on James Redman's show. He'll know about this. He called me Alex for about a first hour of the show. The first time I went on his show. Don't you worry about that, mate. People at my work who I've known for 3 years still email and say, "Hi, Conrad, how you doing, mate?" So don't you worry about that, mate.
I apologize, and Chris, obviously, always a joy. Thank you for coming on this Friday. If you guys just want to let us know what's happening, I know pre-match, post-match, the women's stuff. If you just want to plug it, Chris, and then Conroy, you can plug the pre-stuff.
Yeah, so women's show. So we've got the Naby Keita interview is going to go out midday tomorrow, and then there will be another women's show coming out probably the end of the month. I just need to line some people up first, and then next game is AC Milan. Is it me and you, Conroy, for AC Milan, or we haven't decided yet, have we? It's either me and Conroy or us Daz as well. So 2 of the 3 of us will be doing that on Wednesday, and then the Red Sea guys will be doing the post match as well. So, and then we'll be back for the other thing. Also, Conroy and Daz will be doing Leeds obviously on Sunday. I will be at the women's game, so I'll be tuning in for the guys there.
Brilliant. Yeah. And Conroy, you got a channel as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Were you say something there, Chris?
And you're about 6 shows, probably, Conroy, as well.
No.
At the moment.
Listen, I had to pull out of one on Wednesday. Apologies, yeah, there's been quite a few. But listen, I love it. The community is great. The guys are great. Everyone's brand new, and it's great topics and great chat. To be honest, what's better than to come and chat about sports and football? It's superb. So my channel, if you want to come check it out, it's just kind of general football stuff. I'll probably ask a few random questions like what's your favourite movie, favourite TV show as well, mix it up a bit. If you want to come join the community, it's Conroy Talks on YouTube. You maybe see a few of the guys from the Daytrippers over there and a few of my other mates as well, and just get some good chat. And I'll get you, Chris and Avi, over whenever you want. And
brilliant.
Yeah, just to chat about general football matters. So you can follow, it's Conroy Talks, and you can get me on Twitter at so it's @_Conroy and the letter H. So yeah, if you want to come over, feel free. But yeah, thanks again for having me, Avi. Proper good chat, mate. And I love this show you've really created. It's superb. I think the variety sports is brand new, and it's pretty good as well, because even if you know stuff, someone might say something about a sport you weren't aware of, or a team or a story. Like we're talking about all Irish football today, that story about Richie Foran. It's brilliant. It's just great, and it's really, really good. Good idea for a show, mate.
No, nice one. And yeah, we'll be back next Friday. I was hoping to get Paddy Pimblett on. He is away in Cornwall, but he should be coming on my show very soon, maybe in the next 2-3 weeks. But that's been all, folks. Remember, all Gaelic football final up the Mayo, and yes, Sienna Steps, we're on our way. I think we've got enough funds for her treatment in St. Louis, just a recovery and rehab.
So about just over halfway, I think. Yeah, so we need money now for the. I think she'll have to be in America for about a month after her operation for further treatment and physio. So we're halfway there. So we need to keep going to get to this November deadline.
Brilliant. And yeah, guys, that's all from me. Have a nice weekend, and hopefully Liverpool win on Sunday. And we look forward to FB Fatback 4 on Sunday. Thanks.